So nothing in Scripture prohibits Peter from being the rock of Matthew 16. In fact, despite the constant refrain of popular Protestant apologetics that Peter is not the rock, many of the most prominent Protestant biblical scholars from a wide variety of different denominations have no problem admitting that Peter is the rock in Matthew 16. Here on the screen, you can see screenshots from an article on the Catholic Answers website documenting these Protestant scholarly testimonies, including big names like R.T. France and Craig Blomberg. Of course, they still reject the papacy, but that's a separate issue and beside the point for this video. One step at a time. I'm not going to read each and every one of these to you, but I encourage you to pause the video and read them for yourself. I'll also put the link to the article in the video description. I'll merely highlight the excerpt from Donald Hagner, which reads, "The frequent attempts that have been made, largely in the past, to deny that Peter is the rock, in favor of the view that the confession itself is the rock, seems to be largely motivated by Protestant prejudice against a passage that is used by the Roman Catholics to justify the papacy." Another article on the Catholic Answers website that addresses this topic is Swan Sona's, which explores the testimony of other big-name Protestant scholars like Craig Keener, W.D. Davies, Dale Allison, and D.A. Carson, who at least indirectly support the belief that Peter is the rock. Pause the video to read the excerpts here on the screen, or check out the whole article in the video description here. Marvin R. Vincent explains that the reference of Petra to Christ is forced and unnatural. The obvious reference of the word Petra is to Peter. The emphatic this in upon this rock naturally refers to the nearest antecedent, namely Peter. And besides, the metaphor is thus weakened, since Christ appears here not as the foundation, but as the architect. On this rock I will build my church. The article ends with, "We may therefore still conclude with the eminent Lutheran scholar Oscar Cullmann that, quote, it is thus evident that Jesus is referring to Peter, to whom he has given the name rock. He appoints Peter, the impulsive, enthusiastic, but not persevering man in the circle, to be the foundation of his ecclesia. To this extent, Roman Catholic exegesis is correct, and all Protestant attempts to evade this interpretation are to be rejected." I found another website called oram.us cataloging even more Protestant scholars admitting Peter is the rock of Matthew 16. Feel free to check it out too. Again, I'm not going to read every single excerpt here. Pause the video to read the excerpts here on the screen, or check out the whole article in the link in the video description. But I do want to highlight a couple pointed testimonies. Gerhard Meyer says, "Nowadays, a broad consensus has emerged, which, in accordance with the words of the text, applies the promise to Peter as a person. On this point, liberal," and he gives some examples, and conservative and other examples of theologians agree, as well as representatives of Roman Catholic exegesis. And then I want to highlight David Hill, who says, "It is on Peter himself, the confessor of his messiahship, that Jesus will build the church. The disciple becomes, as it were, the foundation stone of the community. Attempts to interpret the rock as something other than Peter in person, for example, his faith, the truth revealed to him, are due to Protestant bias, and introduce to the statement a degree of subtlety which is highly unlikely."